Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio.
where we hop around to the different resorts of Walt Disney World.
It must be so hard on you to come up with those spur of the moment. Although you did like improv, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that I did not.
That's, it is a lot of pressure.
Mm.
But I have a really strong support system that keeps me grounded for times like these.
Okay,
So
good.
it's all going to be all right.
All right.
Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about resorts.
Me too. It's one of my favorite things. I guess everything is my favorite thing. I probably say that on every podcast.
Something I really like.
Disney is like my favorite thing. Did you guys?
This is a good podcast for us to have because all we ever really talk about.
Yeah.
Something I love about discovering the resorts is that when you're a kid and you don't stay at Disney resorts,
right?
You don't necessarily have any appreciation for them, but they're things you've heard of in passing, or things that you've heard on a monorail narration, or things that you've heard on the bus, or something like that. So if you come back to the resorts, and this is obviously specific to me, but when I came back to Walt Disney World later on as an adult and got to visit or stay at some of these resorts, then it's kind of cool to see what all the buzz is about.
Yeah.
When it comes to these beautifully curated experiences.
Amazingly themed.
Right.
These are not like, when people are like, oh yeah, you're just going to sleep there, I'm like, ugh. You know what I mean? These are so intricately themed, and the details. This isn't like any other hotel in the world, like these hotels. You know what I mean?
Right. Theming
They're
is
an experience.
For sure.
Yeah. I like, as a local, like spoiled local that gets to drive home from Disney when we're done, it's like a treat when we do decide to stay.
Yes.
And
staycation.
And if I'm doing really any of the Disney resorts and we're actually going to book a night there, then I don't even want to go into the parks because there's so much to do and see at the resort.
Yeah, which, like, to be able to experience the resorts to that extent, their fullest extent, really is a luxury. It is a luxury for people.
Right. If you're coming from out of state, then it is maybe just a place you're sleeping.
But no matter what kind of visitor you are, whether you're someone who is a go person who's hardly staying in your resort at all, or someone who is someone who's taking a rest day or two on your vacation.
Which would be smart if you can afford to do that. If you can afford to build in a day that's not a park day.
If you're looking to tackle the whole Walt Disney World, we 100% advise for a rest day somewhere in the middle of all of that. Or two.
Yeah.
And don't worry, there's plenty to explore, keep you occupied and relaxed at some of the resorts that we're going to talk about here. And all over Walt Disney World property as well.
Right.
Today specifically, though, we're going to be kind of hopping around to our favorite resorts to kind of pop into if we're in the area, or work them into our park plans for the day kind of thing. And that's something that we advise for if you have off time where you're not necessarily in the
parks. Or
if
you're a local. I know, especially when
pass holder.
Yeah, back in the day when I was a silver pass holder, that meant that we were blocked out of the parks for months in the middle of the summer.
Right.
And to get my Disney fix as like a true Disney addict, I would go.
Please, Mickey.
I would go and like explore some of the resorts because you don't need a park ticket for that.
And they have the same care for magic and grandeur and whimsy that you know are the things that you come to love as Disney as a company. For people who aren't necessarily super familiar with this concept of resort hopping, it may seem strange to you because you may have the question, are resorts open to non-resort guests?
It's a good question.
This is something that I didn't know you could just kind of pop into the resorts until I had been hanging around people who frequented Walt Disney World more often, and they let me know that it was, one of the foundations of their, pass holder experience was they got to pop in and out of the resorts. And I know that a lot of people who are just coming in for, a week-long trip, a 5-day trip or whatever, if they've got rest days built in, then this is something they really like to do.
Yeah.
And there's some restaurants and stuff that have proximity to the parks that make them maybe worth popping into, even if you are doing a park day.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, depending on the park and the restaurant.
There's a lot of times where I think it would be worth it to leave the park to go experience a resort restaurant.
And we, as we go through these resorts and we name restaurants like that, we'll definitely let you know when we feel it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing you cannot do, just to like throw out the information, if you're resort hopping just to look at things, just to check things out, you cannot go in the pools.
Right. No pools, no hot tubs.
Right.
All of those kinds of amenities are for the guests of the resort.
Right.
And even, this is a question that I've seen on the internet. If you are someone who has a reservation at one resort and you want to use the amenities of another resort, all of the pool or whatever, can you? And the answer, as far as Disney official standards go, is no.
Unless they tell you, right?
Right.
So, like, sometimes your pool might be closed and they'll say you can use the one at the hotel next door.
But don't get other than that, don't tell them that your resort pool is closed. If it's not closed, I see you out there, you troublemakers.
Most of them have a gate where you've got to scan your card to get into the pool area.
Right.
So yeah, it's just something that's not allowed. But other than that, the shopping, the restaurants, they're just walking around.
Taking it in.
Some of the resorts will have like scavenger hunts.
Yes.
Super fun thing to do, especially if you're like a local or whatever.
Oh,
yeah. Hidden Mickeys. Those are fun things you can do, and you're totally allowed to do them if you're not staying at the resort.
And when we start going through some of these resorts, I'm going to name a few of the activities that I've seen that are available to be done at these resorts that kind of make it a fun visit as well. So I'll make sure to let you guys know about those. Another thing important to keep in mind about the resorts is the parking situation. Now, you may be wondering, parking, I'll just drop my car at the resort and that'll be fine. Yes. Unfortunately, Disney's policy right now is that parking at the resorts is for resort guests or those with a dining reservation inside of the resort.
Right.
So if you've got your California Grill reservation over at the Contemporary, first of all, congratulations for being affluent.
Well, and able to get that reservation. It's a hard reservation to get.
Good for you with your mouse dining.
Yeah.
Now,
or getting up at 6 a.m. to get there.
Yeah, or you're just super committed.
Lucky one of these. Anyway.
Right. Well, that also gets you access to park at the Contemporary Resort.
Yeah.
So good news there. Say hi to the 5-legged goat.
Right. At the hotels that don't have transportation, so like let's say All Star, let's say you wanted to go check out All Star, the officials probably still know, but they're usually pretty cool. But so were you going to offer the suggestion of what to do? Because I've got a suggestion if you're not.
No, I would love to hear your suggestion.
I would suggest parking at Disney Springs, totally allowed, and taking the bus.
Right.
You can take a bus to one resort, and especially if you're doing some of the ones that are connected by transportation, then that gets you to the transportation of the others. Of course, you could park at Ticket and Transportation, and that gets you the monorail to go to the monorail resorts.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's no bus from resort to resort.
Right.
Makes it a little harder. I think especially if, like, let's say you're staying at All Star, but you want to eat at Coronado Springs, highly recommend. You'd have to either go to a park and then take a bus, or you could drive if you drove, or you could take an Uber or a Lyft mini bus.
Yes, minivan. Or yes. Yeah, there are some of these resorts that I'm going to talk about. I'm not doing a enumerated list, but if I were, they would be a little bit further down.
Yeah.
Because of the transportation situation.
See what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My one that would be number one is a little difficult to get to, but I'm still leaving it.
Well, hey, if it's worth it, if it's worth it, it's worth it. If it's worth it, it's worth it. And as everything goes, these are recommendations from us based on our personal experiences, but everyone's list of their favorite things is going to be different, whether that's for sentimental reasons, nostalgic reasons. There could be a million things that make people's favorite things their favorite things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might have a different, like, value system. Well, I'm more thinking about when you're booking, because I was reading somebody's opinion about how you should, if you're doing, like, let's say a 5-night stay from another state, how you should splurge the extra $100 a night to do a moderate resort instead of a value. I disagree.
Interesting.
I disagree, because if you're coming from, let's say, Tennessee, because that's where my family lives, if you're coming from Tennessee and you're doing 5 days, those 5 days are pretty intensely packed.
Yes.
So I don't feel like you're getting your $100 a night worth out of the going from value to moderate. The differences are, like, in a moderate, you might get a ceiling fan, which Jake and I were just talking about is wildly, wildly important to us as Floridians.
Yeah.
But I think bringing a little personal fan will save you $500. That's what I would do. You get a hot tub at your pool, but a lot of people don't have time for the pools if they're paying for 5-day ticket. I'm just saying.
Yes, it is totally, in my opinion, a matter of perspective and a matter of what you are looking to get out of your vacation. Because if you are a go, rope drop to fireworks every night, we are getting all of these parks done. I'm doing 2 days for Magic Kingdom. First of all, you're going to pass out. But second of all, I would recommend a value resort.
I would too.
Because it makes little sense to me, even if you are someone who is looking to splurge on your experience, there are ways that I would rather you splurge in the park.
Or on a dining. Absolutely go to, like, Grand Floridian to have your meal. But, like, you don't need to stay there. Yeah,
your dining reservation will get you parked.
Yes, exactly.
Don't worry about it.
Right, and you don't need to stay there to see all of the awesome. I do think that in some of the moderates, some of the deluxes, the, like, grounds are better.
Yes.
But you don't have to stay there to experience that. And the rooms are shockingly similar from value to moderate to deluxe even.
We have found that for sure.
Shocking.
Now, if
you need, like, a 2-bedroom suite situation, well, you're not going to get that in a value except for Art of Animation. And then maybe I would go up. But, like, I'm just saying, if you're like, what should I do with this extra $500? I probably wouldn't bump from value to moderate.
If you're not going to be people with an extra day or with you know what I mean?
And even then you could hotel switch. That's on my honeymoon. I was still living in Tennessee and we came and we hotel hopped like the whole time so that we could experience a bunch of different hotels.
Right.
It was exhausting because you're constantly packing to move. But, like, I would still potentially recommend doing that, like, if you want to 1 or 2 times during your stay.
Right, for maybe people who are return visitors.
Right.
I think the resort switching might be overwhelming too.
For sure.
To maybe very first time people, but that wasn't y'all, so you didn't have to worry.
It was kind of for Michael, but, like.
Oh, that was his first?
Well, he went when he was in high school with, like, the marching band. But that was his first.
That don't count.
He did Disneyland a lot when he was a kid because he's from California.
Right.
So he's not new to Disney. But anyway,
Yes.
It was something that I really wanted to do. At the time, my sister was a cast member, and we got, like, a discount on one of the nights.
It sounds super fun.
It's not like we did it every night. We just did it a few times.
Right, you switched it up.
So, like, when we do Disneyland next, which is next year, we're doing a couple of nights in Pixar Pier, but then I'm going to switch to something more economical.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
That totally makes sense.
For my
a good neighbor hotel, perhaps?
Yes, for sure, a good neighbor. Disneyland doesn't have as many
Get
options.
Your perks, as
Disney World.
Yeah.
But there's 3, maybe. I don't know. Not a Disneyland expert yet, but.
Gotcha. There are a host of accommodations that are perfect for your traveling needs. Sure is what they say.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got like 27 or something like that in Walt Disney World.
We've got a lot, and some of them have the same big tip for people looking for extra value on your accommodations. There are good neighbor hotels right in the Walt Disney World Resort area that offer the same benefits that you would get from staying at a Disney hotel, some of these Good Neighbors hotel. So that includes things like extra park time, depending on depending on which resort you're staying at, or which Good Neighbor hotel you're staying at, or which days are offering the extra magic hours at which times and stuff like that.
Sure.
So something you can check on. But yeah, Good Neighbor hotels are definitely an option.
Right. I think a lot of the times the value resorts are even cheaper if you can get it, though. So, like, if you're planning ahead, like hopefully you are if you listen to us.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. I think I would go value.
Oh, a value resort over? Yeah, it definitely depends on what you're looking for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the value resorts, all of them, has Sportsman renovated yet? Do we know about that?
I don't think so.
I don't think they're done. All-Star Sports is in the middle of a renovation, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that right now.
That's the only one I wouldn't recommend.
The other values, I think,
but I also think
reasonable accommodation.
I think even after they renovated, it might be fine. But I think that All-Star Sports is the one that has the most field trips, baseball teams, cheerleading teams, stuff like that. So it's also louder. Right. There's a lot of more loud traffic because children don't as much think about, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and they're on vacation.
Yeah. But anyway, back to park hopping, just for the, not park hopping, hotel hopping for the beauty of it.
Right.
Are you starting at like a bottom, or are you just going to name something?
I probably will start at like a bottom and then work my way up to the ones that I've come to be some of my favorites. So we'll start here because this is, I would say, a fan favorite resort. This is one of the ones that get a lot of love. And I'm not talking about Fort Wilderness, which also is a fan favorite. I'm talking about Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Okay.
This one gets a lot of love because it is like immaculately themed in a style that really resembles the park. So it really makes your Animal Kingdom experience incredibly immersive. Mm-hmm. So if you've got an animal loving whoever in your family, or you are just super into nature or into multicultural offerings, Animal Kingdom and Animal Kingdom Lodge are obviously right up your alley. Uh-huh. So I feel like this one makes a lot of sense for why people love it so much, because the grounds are also beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Not to mention it's got the wow factor of having an actual, savannah there that they constructed with
like,
live animals.
A lot of I think like 80% of the rooms you can see animals from.
Yeah, and and even if not, the observation decks and there's a pathway that you can take out into the savannah to kind of look around you.
Right.
Stuff like that really makes it very, one of a kind in its ambitious design. So it's kind of cool. My major complaint about this, or the thing that I wouldn't necessarily say is advisable for people who are kind of looking to quickly pop in and out, is it is far away from everything. It is nearby Animal Kingdom.
And it's right next to
Animal Kingdom is pretty far from the rest of Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
And the transportation system is not
just
robust.
Yeah.
It is just a bus. There is no other form of communication. And also, I find that the Kidani Village side and the Jambo House side, they're not
disconnected.
They're kind of disconnected. There's a shuttle service you can take to get from one side of the resort to the other side of the resort.
That's true of a lot of them, actually.
Yes, but if you don't choose to do that, then the walk is and the shuttle is something that you wait for. So it's not necessarily as convenient as a resort that is, quote, all in one place, unquote.
This one was still at the top of my list.
Oh yeah, the number one.
Yeah. Oh! It's my favorite. So for a
sorry to steal your number one.
Oh no, that's okay. And your points are very valid. It makes me think like maybe I should not have this as my number one, but it's at my number one because it's my favorite. I love experience. I love the ambiance.
Breathtaking.
I love the decor in there. It's so like grand, but in a different way, like in a wilderness way.
Yeah, but like in a natural beauty.
Yes.
Kind of way.
I think the pool is gorgeous, although if you're not staying there, you don't get to go in it. I think that seeing the animals is like a really interesting experience, and I love Boma for breakfast.
Oh, Boma.
Yeah, we really liked Sanaa too, which is in
the other
Donnie.
side.
Yes.
Yes. Sanaa is awesome. It's Savannah View,
yeah.
of course, but it's this kind of experience committed to authentic cuisine, which is really cool. The thing that it's most known for is your bread service, which you go and they bring out several different flavored naan breads and several different dips and curries and all kinds of jams.
Likely never had anything like this, and it was so fun to experience.
Yes,
because the amount of combinations you could do is so fun, and you're experiencing new flavors that you may not have had before.
And you'll see like giraffes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, all in all, it's a really cool experience.
And then Boma for breakfast was like one of our favorite breakfasts. Our absolutely favorite buffet, right?
Yeah, definitely favorite breakfast buffet that I've experienced so far. There are a couple I haven't gotten around to yet. Just a few now, not very many, but definitely that one takes the cake for me. The Zebra Dome cake for me, I guess. Boma is a buffet breakfast situation.
African inspired, but like half of it. The other half is classic.
Yeah, the actual offerings on the buffet are all of your American standard go-to buffet items, but prepared with good quality.
Yeah.
And then they also have mixed in some really cool, eccentric.
It's cool to be able to, if you're doing a buffet, to be able to just like kind of sample some stuff that you've never had before, but then have your classics to like fall back on.
Yes.
I also love the fire pits in Animal Kingdom Lodge. I think that adds such a fun like thing to the ambiance with the like outdoorsiness.
It definitely fits.
Yeah. And my favorite Hidden Mickey of all time is there.
Great Hidden Mickey.
Yeah, you'd have to look it up. I don't want to give anything away, but it's when you first are if you go in through the main Animal Kingdom Lodge, like what's it called? Atrium? That's what it's called on a cruise ship.
Lobby. Yes.
If you go straight out, it's out there.
Yeah. It's a good one.
It's worth looking into, but it like the first time it took me like an hour to find.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely takes a minute, but that makes it all the more enjoyable once you find it.
Yeah, but I would understand why somebody wouldn't want to stay there if they were coming for like 5 nights from another state, or again, it's far away.
Right, unless you're looking for if one of your priorities is a fantastic breakfast near Animal Kingdom, then I do recommend a Boma. Trip.
Yeah, anyway. Absolutely. So, and then you could like walk around the resort a little bit to see it.
Yeah, at least say hi to the flamingos. They're by the hot tubs.
For sure. And another good thing about that buffet is it's not characters, so it's not as expensive.
Yeah, and it's also not so like, oh gosh, the characters are coming. Everybody get the kids ready.
They do have a version with characters inside Animal Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you
that is available to you. Right. But if you're someone who that morning wants one less job, then it might be nice to opt out of a character breakfast.
Yeah, we think it's nice sometimes. Yeah.
Treat yourself, moms and dads.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
all right, Morgan, I can't wait to hear from you. What are one of your favorite resorts to kind of pop into?
One of my favorite ones to pop into, although this wouldn't be at the top of my list as somewhere to stay, although it's good. It's just for me, there are better options. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad.
All right.
I just don't want anybody coming at me. But sometimes you say my least favorite, but I love everything. And then they're like, oh, you hate this thing? Why do you hate this thing? That's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
Is Port Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
I love a beignet.
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I love the ambiance. I love the boat to Disney Springs if you have a non-park day.
Great amenity.
It's not just like easy transportation to Disney Springs. It's also like beautiful and interesting, and usually the like boat captain tells you stuff like awesome. Interesting information.
Now, are you more of a Riverside girl or more of a
French Quarter? I like I'm not in real life like a party girl, but like I like the atmosphere.
Morgan gets down.
I like the New Orleans like theming that they've got in French Quarter.
Yes, they've got that Scat Cat Lounge with the jazz, and they've got the beignets.
Yes.
Good times.
Yeah, and their food court has like a New Orleans theme with the masks and stuff like that, and even when you walk in. But the Riverside is more like a
rustic.
Yeah, like a country
bayou, swampy.
Yeah, what was the mill? It was like the.
Oh yeah, it's a mill.
Yeah.
Like a watermill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the theming over there is quite cool. There's an interesting. That resort has an interesting history.
Yes, it does.
It used to be separate.
Right. Or it used to be Dixie Landing.
Right.
Yeah. There was a whole thing.
And then that went away, and then they brought the two together and named it.
And that's another one where you can get from one to the other via a little bus or what, like bus. Yeah. It's a full bus. So I think that in that one, you're allowed to use the pool for the other. But don't quote me on that, because if you're going to stay there, you need to look it up, because that.
Just ask somebody at the front desk.
Yeah, it could have changed.
Either pool will be fine.
Yeah.
But just ask somebody at the front desk if you're really interested.
I like the pool better at French Quarter, though. If I'm going to recommend one, I'd recommend French Quarter. Yeah, it's got like alligators and like costumes.
Which one did you stay at?
Both.
Oh, both?
Yeah, we stayed at.
Were your room experiences different?
Yes.
Which one was better?
But that could have been a fluke. Yes, French Quarter was much better.
Was it the same room type?
Yes. Yes.
Oh wow.
The air conditioning unit in the one we stayed in Riverside was like incredibly loud.
Morgan sent me a video of it.
Yeah. I was like, what is happening? This is a $300 a night room, and this sounds like an air conditioning unit from 1980.
I would have to think that was just a one-off. But yes, oh my gosh, it was so surprising.
It's shocking, and
call somebody and tell them about that. Yeah, everybody in the world. If you got that,
I think we told them, but yeah, it wasn't. It was. I didn't sleep that night, so it wasn't a good experience. And the other times, a couple of other times,
because you were too busy partying.
Yes,
Mardi Gras.
Yeah, the other times I booked French Quarter just because it sounds more interesting to me.
Yeah,
it probably sounds more interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's more of the Disney theming, I feel like.
Yes, because originally the one called Dixie Landing was supposed to be something so specific, and now that property has been like shoehorned into New Orleans. I mean, it was always like the Bayou. But
do you know a story?
No.
Okay.
Well,
I don't.
Other than the fact that resort kind of had its own identity as Dixie Landing, and then they wanted to nix the Dixie Landing name, so then they joined it with the other one to make one big New Orleans themed resort.
But they still have like the buildings look like plantation houses.
Okay.
So I don't know. It definitely has more of like a down country old.
And when I hear New Orleans, I don't think that. That's what I'm saying. Like I think them jamming it together to make it all New Orleans. Well, if you want a New Orleans experience, you want a Mardi Gras experience.
I never.
You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. 100,000,000%. I never would have thought of this as being a New Orleans experience.
If it were still named something else landings or whatever, I feel like it would be I don't think it should be named its first thing, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like it should be named after New Orleans. I think it should have been named something else. I feel like landing is very appropriate for what you're kind of dealing with there. Yeah. It's like a southern landing.
Right. The vibe reminds me a little bit of that bayou area in the beginning of Pirates in Disneyland. As weird as that is. The person's like sleeping on the rocking chair.
Yeah, call it Blue Bayou Resort. That'd be cute.
That would be
like
cute.
A little nod to Disneyland.
Yeah.
All right, we solved it.
But anyway, it is a fun place to walk around. I think it's a cool... And that's one of the ones where we went and visited and got a scavenger hunt from the front desk, and that was fun.
That is fun. One time we got in a real bad storm there. The water the water just started coming down when we were at Port Orleans.
BTW, Jake and I do not recommend the restaurant there. If you'd like to see our full review, go ahead and check us out on YouTube.
Now that was one of the worst ones we ever did.
It was really bad.
We are willing to be surprised. I didn't even know anything about this, so it wasn't even a matter of being surprised. I went in with a completely blank slate.
Same.
I just really love Cajun cooking.
Yeah.
So then
I think that gave us a little bit of high expectations, huh?
Maybe.
I mean, what was it? I was so excited about. It was like fried
jambalaya.
No, fried pimento cheese.
Oh, right.
With like some jalapeno jelly. That sounds awesome.
It does.
Awesomely Southern.
That would be awesome
but it wasn't.
at like Art Smith's Homecoming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Art
if you
Smith
ordered
could do
that
it.
there, it'd be fabulous.
And maybe we had an off night, but I don't know.
Overall, right?
Yeah.
Some of our stuff was literally just burnt.
Yes.
We've very rarely had an experience like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to my next one.
Okay.
This is the Grand Floridian.
Okay.
We are 30 minutes into the podcast.
Oh, okay. That is what I was wondering.
I saw Morgan peeking over, and I was like, how can I visually
I feel like we've been talking to... Yeah. Okay.
I also thought we'd been going longer than we had.
I was like, is this going to be a two-parter?
Oh my gosh. Two resort parks?
Well, if we need to.
It's like Port Orleans. Half of it.
Yeah.
Is...
Except for they'll both be good.
Oh! She can't believe you dragged Port Orleans like
now
this.
I feel bad.
The poor defenseless Port Orleans.
Well, it's not... I mean, also that one side that feels disconnected to me has that restaurant we don't like.
Yeah.
But...
It's all bad news over there.
Yeah, but French Quarter has the beignets.
Right.
Beignets, awesome. Things. They make them to order, you guys.
Why can't you meet Tiana there or something?
You should be able to. I'm sure it's coming, don't you think?
They should put Tiana's place in that restaurant. Why not?
Why not? Oh, please, replace boat rights with Tiana's Palace.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That would be wonderful.
All right, the Grand Floridian. I'm getting back on track. I can do it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. This is one of the monorail resorts.
Uh-huh.
So that automatically, to me, makes it like
I wrote down
more accessible.
Monorail resorts. That's one. Okay, go on.
That's fair. There are specific things about some of the monorail resorts that I like specifically love and want to highlight.
Me too.
The reason that Grand Floridian is like toward the bottom of my list of places I'd want to go right now is because a lot of those things are closed right now.
Yeah.
So like 1900 Park Fair is
1900 Park Fair is wonderful.
It's
not
a fan favorite character
yes.
meal, and has not reopened from the pandemic. People love the Grand Floridian tea service. People think that's really nice. That has not come back since the pandemic. Also, I just saw the lobby is absolutely behind construction walls right now because they're getting ready to remodel the entire thing.
Oh my gosh.
We knew that was coming with the Mary Poppins DVC stuff that's been coming. They said they were also going to touch the lobby. It's very controversial. People love that lobby. But right now, the Grand Floridian is a little bit of a mess.
Do you know what they plan to do?
They're just...
We might need to two-part this. Sorry.
No, you're good. They're changing the overall... they're adding...
Subtle.
How they added Incredibles to the Contemporary, they're adding Mary Poppins to the Grand Floridian.
In Contemporary, didn't they just add Incredibles to the rooms?
Well, also, like, in the hallways that are visible from the concourse, you see them from the door and stuff. There's just little design touches.
So, have you been into Citricos? Am I saying that right?
Citricos? I've not been in.
So, we went, my family went, a few years ago. I don't know. I'm not good at this.
At one point.
Then I go, I'll say a couple years ago, and then I'll go, wait, a couple years ago was COVID. So it definitely wasn't then. Was it before then? It's just this whole thing. At some point, we went into Citricos.
At one point in time.
At one point. One day.
Between 1971 and now.
My kid was a teenager. So within 5 years.
Right. Not too far.
Yeah. They did a subtle... Mary Poppins retheming.
Right.
Very subtle. In a good way, I think. You'd have to look for it.
Yeah.
If you weren't looking for it, you'd be like, oh, this is just a nice restaurant. But if you look for it, you could see, the host would point out, oh, yeah, see the umbrella over here, or just little
Jolly
things.
Holiday umbrella.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
think...
I was wondering if it was going to be like that.
Right. I think that the DVC rooms that they did that are Mary Poppins inspired are kind of a little bit more like the art is of Cherry Tree Lane. So it's a little bit more...
A little bit more than subtle.
Over the head. But I think the hotel room will be more overt than what they're doing in the lobby. I think the lobby will be a little bit more on the subtle side, like you're describing in Citricos. Yeah,
I bet so too.
Because I don't think they'd go ham on such a historic, beloved...
Man, can you imagine?
Right. But the lobby does need a little bit of help right now because it feels... There used to be music, live a live symphony that played in there.
Oh, well, there's a live piano player now.
Yeah, now there's a live piano player, but it just used to have a little
like
bit more energy.
Yeah.
So I feel like a little something is maybe due. But yeah, so anyway, the Grand Floridian, something I love about this is the Grand Floridian Cafe. Well, yeah, I do love Christmas as well.
Well,
but the Grand Floridian Cafe is like this little restaurant by 1900 Park Fair.
Yeah.
Kind of like off to the side. And every meal we've had there has been good.
Yeah.
I'm probably this restaurant's biggest fan.
And so Jake asked for us to go there for his birthday a few years ago.
That tells you how much. Well, no, that was our first time. We didn't even know if it was good, right?
Yes. And honestly, when you suggested it, I was like, ugh, okay, well, it's his birthday. So, and because you look at the menu and there's just not much on there.
Right. It's not like it's also not a particularly, I don't know, at first glance, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a remarkable.
But it is.
But it's great.
Yes. Yeah. I've been there 3 times now. I've been blown away, happy every time.
Dependable quality. And I will say, the theming in there, it is themed like a restaurant.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It just looks like a restaurant.
It's not themed. I would go with not themed.
It is not. It's definitely not Disney-fied. But in a way, I really like that. It makes me feel more comfortable, casual.
We have found this weird pattern of places that we have gone. And we do all these restaurant reviews, and they're all on YouTube. But we have found this pattern of like, we'll see something, and it'll be like, oh, there's only a small amount of stuff on the menu, and then those are the ones that are the best because they like really perfect those items.
Yeah, that has been kind of true, and I think that especially rings true here. They've only got a couple things, but we've tried basically everything, and everything has been good.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that salmon was so good, I tried to remake it.
Yes, and it did not go well.
It didn't go well. I wouldn't suggest trying to remake it. Just go and buy it there.
She burned her face with oil.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Half my face was burned off.
My gosh.
That was right before we started doing this.
Oh, yeah, it was. We were like, oh, well, we're going to have to wait a couple days.
We're going to have to wait a couple of months. It was really bad.
Yeah. But the salmon was good.
It was so good. And I've gotten it again, so I wasn't so like...
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing I love about the Grand Floridian. I think it is so fun to see people occasionally getting married there.
Like every time we go, we see somebody getting married there.
Cute. And also they have a really cute splash pad. It's Alice in Wonderland themed. It looks like adorable. The Mad Hatter's hat.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just nice to see those fun, whimsical touches on something as innocuous as a children's splash pad.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I was going to tell you before the podcast started that I was like, I'll just wait till we're in the podcast was, did you know that they planned a new resort for being on the monorail, maybe not on the monorail loop, but next to Wilderness though, so on Bay Lake, and it's been canceled.
Oh, I did hear about it. Wasn't this going to be a DVC something?
Yeah, but it was going to be a mixed, so half DVC and half not, in between Wilderness Lodge and Fort Wilderness.
On the former site of that water park, River Country.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And now that site is still vacant. It
must be cursed.
Cursed by a brain-eating amoeba.
Wow.
River Country was Disney's first water park.
Yeah, please give the overview.
Well, it was Disney's first water park. It was very quaint compared to modern water parks.
Sure, it was country themed.
Yes, I don't even think water park really. It's
I think at the time it was a water park.
Sure.
There were like posters.
A rope you could swing around. Yeah, a bunch of like slides.
But that was theming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But anyway, they had some problems. They had, at one point...
In the 80s, right?
Yeah. They had a couple injuries, and then they had somebody who had contracted a parasite from their visit, and that was bad.
And then they found this parasite in the water.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So that was not good for them. And it wasn't getting used very much, so eventually they boarded it up, and it became one of the abandoned sites on Disney World that people like to explore.
Yeah.
So some people got in some trouble trying to explore the old River Country because that's not safe.
I thought it dramatically closed. Are you saying it was like a slow close?
It didn't reopen one season. So I don't think it was super dramatic.
I thought it was
Disney,
people are getting brain-eating amoeba. Okay, we're shutting down.
I think that's like the clickbait version of it.
Oh.
I think it's a little more boring.
Okay.
Because I think it was just one time, and then people didn't want to go back, so they closed it.
Interesting.
I don't seem to remember there being. Maybe we'll do a whole.
Maybe we will.
When we do a research episode about
Let's
resorts.
do abandoned stuff.
Ooh.
Let's just do one episode on abandoned stuff.
Absolutely.
Gosh, we are seriously going to push this to a 2-parter, which I think will be fun. There's so many hotels. There's 20-something hotels.
Yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface. All right.
So tell me when we're getting close, like we need to wrap up this episode, and then we will just pick up next time.
But we certainly have time for you to give another.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I did write down monorail loop as like a thing for me to cheat, because I didn't know if Jake had 5. And I was like, well, if you have 5, I'm putting monorail loop as 1. That way I can,
She's trying to rig the system.
I was. So
I originally had 5, and I was like, I can't.
Right.
Just pick 5.
Right. So,
which is why this is going to be 2 parts.
So surely both of the other 2 monorail loops are on your list.
Indeed.
Okay, so then let's talk about those 2 and then see where we're at.
All right.
Okay. I cannot wait to see the Incredibles themed rooms at Contemporary. I haven't stayed there since I was a kid when they were not Incredibles themed. Incredibles didn't exist. But the fact that hotel is shaped the way it's shaped and there's a monorail running through it still is like awe-inspiring today. But when it opened, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it certainly is an icon.
Yes.
In its architecture.
And it's got iconic restaurants too.
Indeed. Some of probably the most recognizable settings, especially obviously Chef Mickey's. I mean, that is like, if you say the words character meal,
that's what people think.
I really think most people picture Chef Mickey's.
For sure.
Because you can see it from the monorail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see it from the monorail. And then the other 2 restaurants have gone through some changes.
Yes.
We love Steakhouse 71 for breakfast. I mean, love.
Is this the part where we're going to talk about Steakhouse 71? I love Steakhouse 71.
Oh my gosh, so good. And that's a great way to start off your Magic Kingdom day. Or your Epcot day, Magic Kingdom especially though, because look, you get to park there.
Yep.
And God, it was so good.
We have to go back. I know we've been twice, but we have to go back. We've been twice recently, but we have to go back.
This just changed maybe a little over a year ago from the Wave.
Well, here's how we can tell that. When I did the second proposal, it was after we had breakfast at the Wave.
Oh, there you go.
So that was 2019.
Okay. So somewhere during COVID.
And then COVID happened, and then I reopened on Steakhouse 71. That's how my mind sees it. This is the first floor of the Contemporary.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're underground.
Kind of feels like you're underground. But it's, there's no windows in this restaurant.
Right. You might be underground.
You might be there's no window. It is
no doors.
Oh my gosh. It is a great trivia question. Which Walt Disney World resort restaurants have no windows? It's just this one in Steakhouse 71. No, sorry. Space 220.
I don't know. I think that...
Docking Bay and stuff. There's a couple things with no windows.
I was thinking the one in Canada.
Next time you're eating at Walt Disney... Oh, that's right.
That's for sure. Like, it's supposed to be underground, right?
Yeah.
It's called Le Cellar.
Le Cellier.
Le Cellier.
Indeed. I was like, it's a steakhouse. What is that called?
Showing
next time you eat at Walt Disney World, think to yourself, are there any windows in here? There's no windows in here. I can't see out the window.
But they have a lot of awesome art in there.
Yes, the art is very fun. It's got that, I think the 70s flourishes in there to coincide
70s, but classic. Like classy. Dark woods, you know what I mean? Sometimes when somebody says 70s, I'm picturing like
avocado
orange,
green and rust orange.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
It's not quite that. It's a little bit, honestly, some of the stuff in there feels a little more mid-century than 70s. But there are 70s touches, and honestly, one of the things that I love most about it is that it's got all of this concept art and these maps and these photos of the construction of Walt Disney World, because it is in honor of 1971, the year Walt Disney World opened. So it really is kind of a tribute to the resort itself, which is something that Disney is doing increasingly now, is paying tribute to their own history, which I certainly don't mind, because it is a tremendous story of how Walt Disney World came to be and came to be what it is now.
Absolutely.
And Steakhouse 71 is part of that, because, you know, it definitely is an evolution of the wave. It feels very different in there now, though. Feels very different in there now.
Yes.
But I like it. I think the menu is consistent quality. They have
breakfast. We're just talking about breakfast. We haven't done the dinner.
People say the dinner's quite good too, but I've only done the breakfast, right?
You got that weird coffee, you and Michael. Do you remember what was in it?
Oh, actually, anise.
Okay.
Star anise and coffee and seltzer water.
Seltzer water. I was like, something that made it sparkly, right? And so when they ordered it, the waitress was like, are you sure?
They were like, I tend to tell people not to get that. And I was like, I tried it when I was here last time and it was my favorite. And then...
But it's different, you guys.
It is definitely... It's called a 5-legged llama.
Oh, yeah.
And that's after the 5-legged animal that's in the Grand Canyon concourse mosaic in the Contemporary Resort, designed by Mary Blair.
Right. Was that an accident?
No.
That it was supposed to have 5 legs?
Okay, well, that is something that I think only Mary Blair could have answered. But also, I think it's, to me, it screams whimsy.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure.
It's just like a little weird, whimsical touch that I love.
Jake is a huge Mary Blair fan.
Yeah, I do. I definitely am. She's very inspiring to me. Her story and her work is very inspiring to me. But the restaurant also has some like Mary Blair-esque touches throughout, with some of the, like, what I'm thinking of specifically is there is a back wall that is a full color mural with the castle on one side, the monorail, and then Spaceship Earth on the other, and it's very geometric, and it's got like a very bright and playful color palette, and it all very much reminds me of that classic
in Steakhouse 71. Why would they have Spaceship Earth? That wasn't built.
I also thought that when I looked at it, but I guess I don't mind, because I think maybe part of the magic of the restaurant is that it does kind of show you the evolution of things as well. And like, you start and you walk in and there's all that beautiful archival photography of the construction of the park and Walt. And then as you kind of move throughout, more color starts to come in and it starts to, you know, transform to a more modern representation of the current Walt Disney World. But I think Steakhouse 71 is a great recommendation for anyone who is looking for if you're a return visitor, I would say that is when I would start to take a little bit more advantage of the things that are immediately around the parks and easy to dip in and out of. The great thing about the Contemporary is that it is walking distance from the Magic Kingdom and on the monorail loop. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to go.
I would strongly suggest getting your breakfast at one of the hotels along the monorail loop, opposed to inside Magic Kingdom.
Unless you are committed to doing a quick, like, on-the-go breakfast. Because if you're trying to get
even a quick, like, just to throw this out there, in Polynesian, which we're about to get to, I'm sure, Tonga toast is a cult favorite breakfast item. It's also served at their quick serve restaurant.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely worth checking out.
Although Cinderella's Royal Table breakfast was really, really phenomenal. Very hard to get reservations to. Sorry, back to Contemporary.
No, I would say that anyone who is putting their foot down on Cinderella Royal Table, that's tough. You know, I would say maybe expand your search and maybe consider some of the other also fantastic dining options around the Magic Kingdom
And
Resort.
You could get a breakfast reservation before the park opens. That way it's not cutting into your time, maybe.
Yes.
Just a thought.
Good. Right.
We don't usually get up that early, but...
Yeah, or if you're just...
I've heard it can be done.
You've heard that can be done. You've heard you can
eat breakfast before rope drop. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. The people who are maximizing their time.
Morning people.
Not us.
No.
We are minimalizing our time.
We're just not morning people.
Although we're about to do a breakfast reservation.
We
so
sure are.
We're going to make it happen. And we'll wake up super early for Topolino's.
Oh, yeah.
So
I would take like a 6:30 reservation at Topolino's.
Right. There's some things that are worth it. You know. All right. Anything else going on at the
I think that when I mentioned Mary Blair, I thought you would talk a little bit more about the mural.
Oh, sure.
I just that is a iconic part of contemporary resort, don't you think?
Absolutely. When you're going through on the monorail, first of all, it was remarkable at the time, it still is, to have a monorail going through a structure like that. Yeah. That's really, I as a kid thought that was incredible.
Yes.
And it still is
yeah.
Awesome. And then you come upon this huge mural that wraps around the central tower and the concourse, and that the atrium area of the Contemporary is called the Grand Canyon Concourse, and the mural that surrounds is a Mary Blair original that depicts indigenous people and different animals, all situated in a whimsical geometrical pattern that's signature to the Mary Blair style. She was one of the artists that was critical to forming the aesthetic that was signature to the Disney parks. So the style of It's a Small World and a bunch of the different Disney animated features all got concept art and stylistic inspiration from the work that Mary Blair did. And one of the biggest examples of her artwork that is immaculately preserved is in the Contemporary Resort as its main
giant
feature.
Well, what that's got to be like 10 floors or something, right?
Yeah, it is unmistakable. It is something that I've been staring at since I was a kid.
Yes.
It's very magical, and it really adds a lot of, it is so artistically done and so huge in its scale that it really fits into the vision of the Contemporary being this modern exhibition of art and architecture.
Yes, and it's not IP. You know what I mean? We're not looking at Mickey. I think in a way it's cool because it's like the identity of this hotel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's got its own signature, unique feeling.
Right.
And that mural, created from nothing, is meant to embody it.
Right. And even with the addition of the Incredibles theming to the rooms, I still don't think of this as an Incredibles hotel.
No.
If you were to say, what do you think of when you think of the Contemporary? I mean, my first thing would be the monorail going through the middle of it, and then the second would be the mural.
Yeah, I can't help when I think of the Contemporary, but to think of the footage of them sliding the prefabricated hotel rooms into the frame.
Yeah, if you didn't know this, they built the rooms,
right,
and then slid them into the frame
on huge cranes.
It's definitely worth looking up to see.
Yeah, it is remarkable. It's a feat of engineering, of course, but stylistically, it's quite striking. The huge A-frame of it. You know, it's very signature. It's very unique and identifiable, which, it's cool. It's got such a starkly different theme from the other resorts on the monorail loop.
Right.
It is truly an embrace of modernity.
And this is probably the best firework viewing of all the hotels.
Yeah, the firework observation there, that little
it's elevated deck, as opposed to being a beach on the other monorail.
Yeah,
hotels.
You've really got a clear look at what's going on in Happily Ever After.
Yeah. Do we have time for Polynesian?
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I think we're saying aloha, but the goodbye one.
Got it.
The hello one.
Right.
But the other one.
Then we'll say aloha for the next one, too.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Let's see if we remember.
So confusing.
A week from now.
Yeah. All
right. That's a good place to leave off. If you guys have enjoyed the podcast, thank you so much for watching or listening. Yeah. If you're listening on a podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and we would love if you could leave a review of the podcast as well.
The reviews really help us out.
Right.
If you're watching on YouTube, Check out our other videos. We've got a lot now.
Yes.
And then if you can like and subscribe on YouTube, that would be super helpful.
Absolutely. We also have a website, neverlandnavigation.co, where you can check out all of the things that we're up to, even on our social medias, which are at Neverland Navco on Instagram and TikTok.
And Facebook.
Yeah, and we have Facebook.
Yeah. And then on Etsy or Neverland Navigation.
Right. There you have it. Yeah, that's
all the places you can find us.
Yeah, that's everything. You could navigate all over the internet and see us everywhere.
Yeah.
But no parking. All right? You can't leave your car here. That's for the guests. Get real.
You're so funny.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, we will see you on our next adventure.